Horror Stories in York Part 7. 20th of March 1809, the execution of the Yorkshire Witch. Mary Bateman, aged 41, was sentenced to hang for murder. Dubbed the Yorkshire Witch by the press because of her fortune-telling abilities, Mary was nothing more than a con artist, selling potions and charms to anyone gullible enough to pay. She even at one point charged people to come see her magical chicken, who she claimed could predict the second coming of Christ due to messages inscribed on the eggs that it laid. In short, Mary was the one writing the messages and then reinserting the eggs into the chicken so that they could be laid in front of a paying audience. But her downfall would come in the form of the Perigos, a married couple who claimed that they had an evil spell placed upon them. After stringing them along for years, selling them various charms, Mary eventually gave them a white powder and instructed that the powder must be baked into a pudding and eaten at the full moon, and that would solve all their problems. The wife did as instructed, baking the pudding, and she sat down with her husband to eat it. But her husband could only stomach a few mouthfuls before he claimed that the pudding tasted vile and was foul-smelling. But the wife continued, until later that night, complaining of stomach cramps and foaming at the mouth, and eventually writhing around on the floor in agony. She eventually died from poisoning. What Mary had given them was powdered arsenic. Mary was quickly arrested, tried, and sentenced to hang. At her execution, 20,000 people had gathered at the New Drop Gallows, situated not far from the castle prison. They were all expecting to see the Yorkshire Witch being magically rescued by the devil himself. As the noose was placed about Mary's neck, the crowd waited with bated breath, and they expected Mary to vanish into thin air, calling upon her supernatural powers. But all that was heard was when Mary went through the trapdoor, the audible crack of her neck, her body swaying in the wind. But the crowd, still convinced of her supernatural abilities, followed her body from the scaffold to the cart, and even alongside her on the 20-mile journey to the Leeds General Infirmary, where her body was given over for dissection. They were still convinced that the witch would awaken, but she never did. The flesh was stripped from her bones, tanned and sold as gruesome souvenirs, ironically to ward off evil spirits. It was only just until a few years ago that her body remained on display at the Thackeray Medical Museum in Leeds.